everyone, it's Elle here, and today I'm going to be helping you to plan your Florida holiday. Now, with Florida holidays, it's so overwhelming. There's so much to think about. I am trying to make it as easy as possible for you, and we're going to go by step-by-step planning so you do not feel overwhelmed and you plan the best holiday you can. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, I do work in luxury travel. I've been a luxury travel consultant for many years, working with high net worth individuals and planning their trips around the world completely from scratch, tailor-made. And I've been really lucky to travel to some incredible places. But this is something I do day in, day out for my clients. So I'm going to give you as many tips as I can to help you plan your trips, and we can do this together. So instead of feeling overwhelmed and not knowing even where to start, we can do this together and make Florida planning fun. So the first thing I would say is you really need to figure out why you're going. Are you going specifically for Disney, to stay in the Disney hotels, and most of your trip is going to be consumed by Disney, therefore staying on site? Or do you prefer something off-site, maybe in a villa if there's going to be more of you, so you can all be together? Are you wanting to book everything as a package, so it's completely secure, it's all together and you don't have to think about anything else, it's just one point of contact for you? Or are you going for the most cost-effective option possible, whereby you may decide to book everything separately yourself to try and get the best deals possible? So they're my 3 steps that I would think through first. Are you going to be staying on site and booking a package through somebody such as Disney or Universal? Are you going to be staying off site but still wanting to book through a travel agent? You wanting everything as a package, or are you going to book some elements maybe through a package tour operator or online, and then some elements yourself? For example, a day trip maybe to Kennedy Space Centre, you may decide to book that individually yourself but the rest of it as a package so it's protected. Or do you prefer to do everything yourself? Once you have an idea of that, you can then go on to the next step. Yes, booking through a travel agent can sometimes be a little bit more costly, but that is because you've got someone doing everything for you. That means thinking of deadlines of when to book things, when to pay things, searching through so many different prices and flights and dates for you, so you are paying a premium not to have to do that for yourself. Another advantage is booking with a travel agent. Everything is ABTA and ATOL protected, and what that means is if for any reason the travel agency or an airline were to go under, which during COVID times is something that people have been thinking of a lot more than they used to, then you are protected. You will get your money back. Your money and your package is protected. Anywhere that isn't ABTA and ATOL protected, ATOL refers to the flights, ABTA refers to the whole package, then you do have the chance of losing your money should anything happen to where you've booked it through. Now, yes, a lot of people use their credit card, so that's covered in that sense, or buy travel insurance. But with COVID, a lot of things now aren't covered. Before, when COVID hadn't happened, a lot more was covered, but companies are being very, very careful, especially travel insurance companies. They are covering slightly less, and their T's and C's are becoming far more detailed. So that is something I would bear in mind. So, should you stay on site? If you're wanting to stay on site at Disney, if you haven't done so before, it can be very overwhelming because there are a lot of places to stay. So the things you would need to think about are, what is most important to you? Is it the location? Is it the price? Or is it the facilities? Now, the facilities part may be more relevant if you are traveling with children. If you're just traveling with friends or just adults, that may not be so relevant. It may just be somewhere where you just put your head and crash at the end of the day. Now, one of the perks of staying at Disney is early magic hours, the dining plans, But we have seen with COVID that a lot of that has changed. So do bear that in mind when you're booking. We don't know when things like a dining plan is going to be reintroduced. Disney have not confirmed anything yet. So that is one of the perks that has unfortunately been taken away. However, staying at one of the Disney hotels, you do still get the early magic hours, and of course they are closer to the parks. Now when I say one thing to think of is location, because there's different level costings of resorts, the ones furthest away are going to be the more cost effective. So if it's really important to you to stay as close to the parks as possible, then you are going to be paying that premium price for the hotels. So this is a good way to start to whittle down the hotels. Is it price dependent? If it is, then you can look at the moderate resorts. If you really want to be as close to the parks as possible, you can look at the higher level resorts. If it's the facilities, if you're staying there with a family or children, you may still want somewhere with a kitchenette or with more pools, or somewhere that's got really good transport to and from the parks. Now what I mean by really good transport is the option of not just a bus or having to get a Lyft or Uber. Some of the parks do have the Skyliner access now, and some of the resorts have water taxis. So we can go through this a little bit later. If you're deciding to stay off-site, some of the things that you may want to consider again are price. Is it literally just going to be somewhere where you put your head at the end of the day? You don't care what the room looks like or exactly where it's located. If it's down to price, then it's so much easier to have a look online or with your travel agent of what's available. You'll see a lot of the Rose & Inn properties are coming in at a really good value, not too far away from the parks, and this can be a really good saver for you. Another thing to consider if you're staying off site is, do any of the hotels offer shuttle buses to the parks? I stayed quite a few years ago now in Lake Buena Vista area. It was the Hawthorne Suites that I stayed at, and at that time they did have shuttles to the parks. Disney, Universal, they also had SeaWorld and the water parks as well, which was brilliant. We didn't have to pay extra for that, but some hotels do charge extra for that. So make sure you look at the description if you're looking online and comparing that they don't charge for the shuttles. If they do offer free shuttles, because of demand, sometimes they make you pre-book them a day or so before. So if you're wanting a more laid-back holiday where you don't have to regimentally plan, that may not be the best option for you. If you're thinking of hiring a car instead of getting the shuttles, then this is one option that you won't need to think about, but do bear in mind the parking facilities. Do you have to pay? Is it safe? Is there enough car parking spaces? Should the hotel be really busy? These are all things you'll be able to find online in reviews, or if you contact the hotel or travel agent directly. Another thing to consider, if you're really unsure whether you should be staying on site at Disney or Universal or off site, if you're not going down the price dependent route, then have a think, how much time are you going to be spending in the parks? If you're going away for 2 or 3 weeks, and you may only find yourself doing a week at Disney if you've been there many times before, you may feel that staying in a Disney hotel isn't the most cost-effective option for you, or may not make sense for the whole trip. You might decide to do a split stay, or you may decide to just take yourself out of the parks, be more centrally located. So if you wanted to go off to the beach or somewhere, Orlando town centre, or shopping, you have got a more central base rather than being within the Disney resorts all of the time. That is where I would say staying off site is really good, because you've just taken yourself out of that little bubble and you're allowing yourself to sort of have a little bit more of a relaxing trip, rather than feeling like you need to make good use of the hotel room, because the Disney resorts, even the moderate price resorts, are not cheap, unfortunately. And I don't feel that the size of the rooms and the facilities warrant the cost for what you could get off-site, especially if you're a family. And that's another thing that's great staying off-site, is the size of the rooms you're going to get in comparison to somewhere like Disney and Universal. Sometimes the room sizes can be double the size for less of a cost, When I stayed at the Hawthorn Suites, for example, they were all suite rooms. Now, we didn't necessarily think about that when we booked it. It was just a great location, great shuttle options, and it just had everything we wanted. And when we got there, it had a full kitchen, full living room, and then a separate bedroom with 2 large double beds, a wardrobe, and a bathroom. There were only 2 of us. But we saved so much not staying at Disney, and our room was absolutely massive, and we probably would have paid at least 3 times more per person to have a room similar to that at Disney. So you really need to think, what is important to you? Do you want the Disney bubble, the Disney experience and excitement, or do you want more of a holiday feel and a much more of a balance? One more thing to think of when you're trying to choose whether you should stay on site and off site is whether you would consider a split stay. That can be something that's really nice if you are going for 2 or 3 weeks and you just want a nice balance, but you are trying to save a little bit of money. Now, if you are traveling with young children, the thought of a split stay could scare the hell out of you. I can imagine myself having to unpack and then repack and then unpack again and keep moving about. If you have got young children, that's probably not going to be an easier option for you. But if for something like myself, for my next holiday, I'm going to be staying off site, but then I'm going to do a couple of nights in Universal so I can make good use of the perks. That's something that can be really useful. Maybe staying sometime in Disney, sometime in Universal, or just off site in general, to balance out the costs and balance out what kind of vibe that you're just going for. I usually find at the end of my holiday, the last few days, so 3 or 4 days, I blitz the parks, I'm absolutely exhausted and I just want some time to relax, maybe some shopping days, or maybe go to the beach for a day. It's times like that where I don't need to be on site, whether it be Universal or Disney. So having a split stay can be a really nice way to keep the cost down, but also have a better feel of Orlando, sort of get to know the area rather than just being in a little bubble. If you're deciding to stay off site, it can be so overwhelming to choose between them. There are a lot of off-site hotels that are very similar costings, and it's so hard to differentiate which ones you should and shouldn't stay in. I always feel like looking at reviews online, at the end of the day, they're opinions. You could get one person that thinks the room is amazing because it's really big and it's quiet. You could get another person that walks in and goes, this is so dated, I hate this hotel. I do feel like you need to take reviews with a pinch of salt. However, a couple of checklists that will really help you. Is the hotel on a really busy highway? A lot of the lower costed hotels, they are on a busy road. So if you've been at the parks all day and you're a light sleeper and you just want a good night's sleep, being on a hotel that's on a busy highway is probably not something that you should look at. I always recommend for your hotels, if you're unsure of the area, look on Google Maps. Drop your little orange man, have a look at the area and see what it looks like, because that will give you a great idea of exactly what's next door. Is it just on a road? If you're going to be staying off site and you want to eat more locally for dinner, if you just want a quick bite to eat after you've come back from the parks, is there somewhere next door? Is there maybe like a Wendy's or a McDonald's or a little supermarket or a CV pharmacy that you can just walk to from your hotel? That's something that I would find very important, especially if you don't have a car, that there are places that you can just pop to, maybe a 10-minute walk, if that, and a lot of the lower costed hotels do have these facilities available, so that again will help you start to whittle it down. Is there free parking if you've hired a car? I've already touched on this, but that is something that can be a great perk. And also if the hotel offers breakfast. A lot of the lower budget hotels don't offer breakfast, but there might be somewhere like an IHOP or a Wendy's nearby which you could go to for breakfast. Some other hotels may have a restaurant available for breakfast, but it's an additional cost. So it might be worth, on mornings where you've had a very long day, if you've been to the Illuminations, God hope they start soon, or something like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party where you've been in the park till 1 o'clock, then if there's somewhere that you can have a local breakfast, that is another way that you can start to whittle down your hotel choices. Now, one of my top tips for you If you are looking at staying off-site, like I just mentioned that I am, and you're happy to do a split stay, then my tip for you is exactly what I'm doing for my next holiday. At Universal, they offer express passes, which can be very expensive if you book them as a supplement to your day park passes. However, if you stay in one of their 3 premium hotels, Hard Rock Hotel, Loews Royal Pacific, Loews Portofino Bay, you do get express passes included for free. So what I would recommend doing is having a look at the price of staying there for maybe 1 or 2 nights. I think for 4 of us in September, we're just going to share a room. It's just going to be for 1 night. So it's 2 double beds. That's absolutely fine for 1 night where we can just crash. It was about £85 per person. That is it for a top standard hotel, and that includes the express passes. You can pick them up early in the morning, leave your bags, go into the park all day, use the express passes all day. Bear in mind this will not count on Hagrid's, and it won't count on the Velocicoaster when it opens. But all of the other rides, you can use the express lane. Then you can go and check in. They will text you when your room's ready, so if you wanted to pop back in the day, just have a bit of a breather, or just go there later in the evening. It's a really, really nice way to save yourself some time in the parks and have a little bit of a luxury. If you've stayed off site and you're staying in a lower budget hotel, you've just got that little bit of luxury. It's something to look forward to midway through your trip. Another thing that you can consider if you're staying off-site is whether you should stay in a hotel or whether you should stay in a villa. Now this is something that's so hard to get your head around, and I feel like the best way to do your checklist is, do you want more of a home from home feel, or do you really want to feel like you are on holiday? So within a hotel, one of the perks you get is room service options and housekeeping. They're things you don't get within a villa. Some things you do get in the villa is a full kitchen, so you can go shopping to Target or Walmart and just get whatever food or snacks you like. You've got somewhere to be. If you're a larger party and you all want to be together, especially in the evenings, if you want to socialise together and not be separate, a villa is a great way to do that, because very few hotels will guarantee interconnecting rooms at the time of booking. They will always cover themselves and say it cannot be guaranteed until check-in. And the last thing you want is to risk being in different places in a hotel if you are in a larger group. So a villa can be a fantastic way to make sure you all stay together. Also has the facilities like a washer and a dryer, so if you're staying there for a few weeks, it really is home from home feel. Great for if you have young children and babies, and most villas 9 times out of 10 will have a private pool as well. So in the evenings, even early in the morning, just jump in there. It can be really relaxing. You don't have to worry about trying to get a spot around the pool at one of the Disney hotels or how busy it's going to be. You can just relax and just be with your friends and family and just really chill. Now this time I go to Florida, I personally am going to be staying in a condo, so not quite a villa. It is in a sort of like a private apartment block. But it's actually sort of within like a health club golf course. It's going to be something that is really different, but we really wanted sort of that home from home feel. We wanted to sort of all be together and just really chill and have somewhere like a large living room with a TV to relax in the evening, not just having to sit on the bed. We really wanted that sort of kind of vibe for this trip, to relax in the evening as much as possible. So that's really why we've gone for it. So have a think about sort of what vibe you want for your trip, and that will help you start to whittle down villa, off-site low budget hotel, off-site higher budget hotel by a known brand, or staying on site. Another way to whittle down the off-site hotels is by a known brand. So I already mentioned the Rose Inn Inn. They can quite often be some of the lower budget ones, but the Marriott hotels as well, there's plenty of those. If you're looking for a higher budget option, more luxury, you've got places like the Four Seasons and the Hilton. They're great places to stay, especially if you have their points program. If you're a member and you start to collect points, that can give you certain perks. So if you're really, really unsure which hotel you can trust and which one is a good place to stay. Stick to your known brands that are internationally commercial, and then you can never go wrong. So going back to staying on site at Disney, you have various categories of hotel. Now within the moderate resorts, there are actually quite a few to choose from. So if you're not too fussy about price, it could come down to the theming, especially if you've got young children or just big kids at heart, or what transport options they have getting to and from the parks. You've got Art of Animation and Pop Century has the Skyliner option as well as the transport. Also, Art of Animation has themed family suites, so that's a really cool option if you wanted something special or to treat yourselves. All Star Movies, All Star Music and All Star Sports only have the bus transports to the parks, and they only have 2 pools as well, so the facilities are slightly smaller and they're sort of slightly more away from the parks. They don't have the Skyliner, but they do have the bus transfers. So within those 5 basic budget options, you have got a fair amount to choose from. Now bear in mind they are all 3-star hotels. Now I do find that America rates their hotels slightly different to how we do in Europe. It really mostly comes down to facilities in regards to the ratings, but I do find the lower budget Disney hotels, when you look at the rooms, they are very basic, and unless you've got a themed room, they're not the nicest rooms. I feel like for the money you can get a lot nicer hotels rooms and more modern rooms staying off site. So if you're not too fussy in regards to your hotels, and you know, if you haven't stayed at loads of hotels before and just being in a Disney hotel is a luxury in itself, then you probably won't be disappointed, and it's still such a fun experience. But if you're well travelled or you do like your luxury hotels, the basic Disney hotels will not be for you, especially for the rooms. They are very, very basic and not very big. Next we go up to the moderate resorts for Disney. So the first one is the Caribbean Beach Resort. Now this one has 6 pools, which is incredible. They also have pirate themed rooms, which is so awesome. I've not had a chance to stay in one of those, but I just love the sound of it. And they also offer the Skyliner to Hollywood Studios and Epcot. So this is a really great sort of mid-range price options, loads of facilities, great transport to the parks. Next one is Coronado Springs. This one just has the bus transport to the park. You then have Port Orleans Riverside. Now this one has a really cool option of the royal guest rooms. These are princess themed, specifically Tiana. It also offers a water taxi to the parks, which is a really relaxed, beautiful way to get to the parks in the morning. Now Port Orleans Riverside also has Port Orleans French Quarter, which has the water taxi. And another resort that has the water taxi is the Cabins at Fort Wilderness. Now this is not a hotel, they are cabins. It's slightly different if you want sort of a more nature feel. Really great for being with a family. All of the moderate resorts are 4 stars, so you will find the rooms will be a little bit more luxurious, slightly better facilities, slightly closer to the parks, and more transport options as well. Then we move on to our deluxe resorts. So these are the hotels that everyone dreams that they can stay in when they go to Disney World. So we'll start off with Animal Kingdom Lodge. Of course, one of the most famous ones with the Serengeti view rooms, which you can book and pay for. Some of them have partial Serengeti view rooms. That basically means you'll see part of the Serengeti and there's no guarantee that the animals will come that far round. Some of the rooms are a full Serengeti view with a slightly better view. Again, no guarantee that any of the animals will come, but they do put food out, so I haven't actually known of anyone not to see any animals staying in these rooms. What an amazing experience. Next one is the Boardwalk Inn. This one does have the water taxi to the park. And we've also got Polynesian Village, which not only has a water taxi, but it also has the monorail. Brilliant transport options at this hotel, and a really nice vibe of the decor, the Polynesian feel to it. Very, very relaxing. This resort also offers some theme park view rooms, so these are a little bit more luxurious, especially if you want to try and see some kind of nighttime shows from your room. Can be a really nice special experience, or for a special occasion. You've then got the Wilderness Lodge, which has water taxi options, and the Contemporary, which has water taxi option, monorail option, and also theme park views. Now it's at the Contemporary that there's a very famous restaurant where it has a balcony that overlooks the Magic Kingdom fireworks show. I'd highly recommend going there for a dinner if you can, but if you're wanting to stay there, this is a super modern resort. It's one that's not specifically themed around a Disney film or a character. Really nice contemporary resort, brilliant location, and you could get some really cool views from the room. Next one, we've got the Yacht and Beach Club. Now this actually has a lazy river and does offer the water taxi to the park. And finally, probably the most famous one is the Grand Floridian. Now this also has a water taxi and a monorail to the parks and does offer theme park views. Now all of these hotels that I've mentioned are 5 stars. You're going to be paying premium, real premium for these hotels, but they've got fantastic facilities, far more luxurious feel than some of the budget hotels, and great locations. These are going to be the closest hotels to the parks. I do just quickly want to mention that Disney does have some partner hotels. What this means is they are great locations, so these are going to be a lot of these hotels are close to Disney Springs. This means that they will be offering early magic hours if you stay here. Fast passes, when they are available, will be available for the guests staying at this hotel as well. And the park shuttles are complimentary. Now some of these hotels you will find are the Wyndham, the Hilton, and the Walt Disney Dolphin and the Walt Disney Swan Hotel. Now the fact that they've got Walt Disney at the beginning can be slightly confusing. Some people do think these are sort of official Disney hotels. They are in fact partner hotels, so do bear that in mind. Some of the things I haven't mentioned are the deluxe villa resorts like Old Key West, Saratoga Springs, Animal Kingdom Villas, the Beach Club Villas and the Riviera. All of these resorts offer 1, 2 or 3 bedroom villas, which can be a really nice way to still be with your family like we mentioned earlier, but within a Disney hotel. But these can be quite costly in comparison to staying in a villa off-site, and of course you won't get your own pool. So do bear this in mind if you wanted to really be in Disney but stay sort of in a villa style room. These are available. A lot of them will offer a full kitchen, full fridge freezer. Some of the studio rooms will only offer a kitchenette, and some of the resorts, depending on where they're located, will offer a water taxi as well as the bus transfers. Do bear in mind that these are all 5-star resorts, so again you are going to be paying a premium. Also, Saratoga Springs also has a health club and spa, so if you're really wanting to get some fantastic massages in and real nice relaxation, Saratoga Springs is definitely the best place to stay for that, because a lot of the hotels won't have the full spa and Saratoga Springs does have the health club. Moving on to Universal, slightly easier here, there is less choice, but looking at the more premium hotels, we've already mentioned these. You've got the Hard Rock Hotel, Loews Royal Pacific, Loews Portofino Bay. These are the 3 premium hotels where you can get the express passes included. Well, these 3 resorts each has a specific themed room that you can book, which are brilliant for children. I cannot tell you how much I would have loved these rooms. I feel like the theming on these is slightly better than some of the theming in the Disney rooms, but that is just personal preference. To be honest, I do feel like they're slightly more modern. Again, personal opinion, you may think differently. But at the Hard Rock Hotel, you've got the future rock star rooms. You can hire a guitar. I mean, as a child, what more could you want? Not ideal if you are staying next to someone who has these rooms, mind, but it's quite a nice option to include for children. Budget budding rock stars. At the Loews Royal Pacific, they have Jurassic Park themed rooms. And at Portofino Bay, they have Despicable Me themed rooms. Now I urge any of you to have a look at these on YouTube, because these rooms are brilliant. They are completely separate from the main bedroom, so the kids can have sort of their own space and their own themed room, and then the main bedroom would be for the adults, is unthemed, really nice modern rooms. So again, it's such a nice little luxury to give your children. So we've gone through all of the hotels, so just to sum up, really how to choose where you should book. Are you going to be booking sort of through an airline? So for example, if you call an airline and say, can I book this, but I want to add in car hire, or I want to do sort of a fly and flop, they can do that for you. Are you wanting to go through a specific travel agent? Wanting to go direct, so for example, direct to the Walt Disney website or Universal website? Or are you wanting to book everything yourself through maybe a low-cost option like Booking.com? One thing to be aware of if you're booking through someone like Booking.com is you can save a real good amount of money, but the hotels will view these as the bottom of the list. What that means is, although you may have saved a good amount of money, these are going to be the worst located rooms, you know, sort of near the lifts or near a restaurant or on the lower ground. We now move on to how to plan your schedule. This is usually where people really get confused and have a lot of doubt and question themselves. Is this a good plan? Have I done it right? Where do I start? So the first place I would say to start with is, what are you most excited about? Is it Disney? If so, which park? Which park do you feel yourself thinking about all the time? Or it might be a specific ride or a specific restaurant. Which park do you find yourself leaning towards all of the time? It may not be Disney, it might be Universal, it might be one of the water parks, but which one do you really feel that is most important to you? And then we can schedule this at the beginning of your trip. Also have a think about how many water parks you'd want to visit, if any. Some people aren't water park fans, but if you are, how many ideally would you like to go to? Are you going to them for relaxing, or are you going to them because you love the slides and you want to experience them like a theme park, as many as possible within the trip? Have a think about that. A lot of people really use the water parks as their break, to break up the moving about within the trip. If that is the case, you may only decide that you do 2, 3 water parks at most. Also have a think about how many other places or attractions aren't Disney or Universal themed. Are you going to be wanting a shopping day or a beach day? Or do you want to go to somewhere like Gatorland, Legoland, Kennedy Space Center, or maybe even a day trip to Miami? Have a think about how many things you want to do within your trip that aren't park specific. When you're thinking of the parks, have a think about how many parks you would want to see shows in. If you're wanting to see the nighttime illuminations, should they be on, or Fantasmic for example, how many times are you going to want to see these? That will help you decide how long you'll have in the park and how early you need to be there, because it might be that you can fit something else in the morning and then you go to that park in the afternoon on into the evening for the show. So have a think about exactly how many shows you definitely want to see. Another thing to think about, how many extras you want to add on. For example, something like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, or the Universal Halloween Horror Nights, or maybe a character breakfast. Once you've listed these and you know exactly how many you want to do, you can fit these around your schedule. Things like the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party or the Halloween Horror Nights, they're not every day of the week. So again, that will help you plan your schedule to see when you might need those specific parks to fit those attractions in. It might be something that you say, I can't think of that right from the beginning of booking my trip, I want to do that nearer the time. Then that's fine. It may be the case you might be able to jig your schedule around, but it will help you have a good guide to start from. A couple of tips I have for you. The first one is, do not overload your park days in the first week. It is so easy to do this. You're in Florida, especially if it's the first trip, you're so excited, you just want to see everything as quickly as possible. But don't forget jet lag. If you're coming from the UK, we are 5 hours ahead. So you're going to be waking up probably about 4 o'clock in the morning on your first day, and that will usually last around 3 days. So the last thing you want to do is, spend the first 3 or 4 days all day in the parks into the evening. You will burn yourself out, and in that heat, it's a lot for us Brits to cope with, the heat to start with anyway. But if you're jet lagged as well and you're not used to all that walking, you do not want to burn yourself out, especially on the first day. Don't expect to do all day and evening in the park. Maybe you could get there early because you would have woken up early from the jet lag anyway, but in the afternoon expect to go back to the hotel or to a water park just to have your chill out time. If you can manage your time in the first couple of days, that will mean that you don't overwork yourselves and you'll be able to enjoy the rest of the trip. Another tip I have for you is something that I'm actually very excited to show you, and is something that will be available for you to get yourselves. I'll put a link down in the description, and that is to plan a proper park schedule. Now, what I mean by that is it's so easy to write down, you know, day 1 this, day 2 that, or put it on your computer. But personally, I like to have it in front of me rather than sort of digitally. And if you're writing it down, your plans may change, or you may decide that a different schedule is better and then you have to cross everything out. So I have created my Florida planning chart. This is my Florida planning chart that I have created for you. Now we've got Monday through to Sunday, and I've split it into 3 sections: the morning, afternoon and evening. Now the reason it's in this plastic is because one tip I have for you is to get a dry white pen, and you've got your schedule. You've either got it from myself or printed it off, and you can write sort of Magic Kingdom, for example. I've just written that on Monday in the morning, and then if my plans change, you can just wipe it clean. That is such a good way to write things down, and it's fun for the children as well to get them interactive and sort of what days we're going to write what. You can get different colour pens, so that is why I've just put it in this plastic wallet here. However, another thing I've created for you are these fantastic sort of tokens, if you want, or little badges, and they all say different things. So we've got all the Disney days here, all of the Universal, we've got chill day, beach day, shopping mall, outlet centre, and I've got plenty of empty ones for you as well. So I've got these for you so that you can print them out, and then what you can do is on your first day, so say you want maybe, let's say on the Wednesday, so we've done Magic Kingdom on the Monday, and then on the Tuesday we'll have maybe a water park day, and then on the Wednesday you can get your little, this says Animal Kingdom on there, and then you can literally just stick it on the day that you want to travel. So let's stick it on the Wednesday. There we go. So we've just put it on the Wednesday there. Now this isn't a proper sticker. This is secured by Blue Tack. So then if your plans change, you can take it off, move it to a different day, and you can print out as many of these as you like. So if you're going for 2 or 3 weeks, you can have multiple. You can write the dates on here. So this is such a great way to plan, and it's fun, it's interactive, and you can have all these different colour tokens on there. You can see all the different colours, and you can have this hanging up in your house or in your kitchen. So if you're thinking, oh, like when I go away in a few months time, what's our schedule, you can have a look at it, change it around. It's so much fun. So I've got this available to you. Again, I've put the link down below, and there are different colours available as well, so just let me know. And I'd love to see your Florida planning charts. I just can't wait to see these, so please do show them to me. But that is my top tip. Rather than writing a list on a piece of paper or having it on your phone, have something fun and colourful and interactive like this. Now when planning your schedule, a couple of things you need to bear in mind is at the moment you are having to reserve your park days for Disney. So as soon as you can get your schedule planned in, the best thing to do is, no matter how many days you're away for, no matter how many days you want to be in a Disney park, try and reserve a Disney park per day of your trip. So for example, I'm going away for 14 days, but it's very doubtful that I'll be going to Disney for the full 14 days. I will be doing other things. However, I have reserved a park day for each of the 14 days just in case my plans change, and then I wouldn't want to not be able to get into a park. Now currently they've got a rule, once you've been into your first park, you can then go on to a different park without a reservation, but you have to have used your first park's reservation before you can go on. Park hopping just generally is not allowed. This is the rule that they have into place. So the reason we've done that is, even if we just wanted to go into a park just to see the illuminations, or just to get some food, or do a little bit of shopping, we have got that option if we've been somewhere else during the day and we didn't want to miss out on having the parks that we wanted on the specific days. Try not to put too much pressure on yourself, thinking, oh my goodness, they're going to get booked out, I have to do my schedule now and stick to it. Again, you can park hop once you've been into one park. So and you can switch and change your park reservations. They've got the calendar online. So try and plan out your schedule first, and once you have a good idea and you think it's pretty good and it's probably going to stay that way, then you can go on and reserve your park days online. Another thing I would recommend thinking about is, are there any activities you could do on the weekends that aren't the parks? Now, the parks can obviously get busier at the weekends from locals, but they especially get busier if you are traveling over things such as the American holidays, spring break, 4th of July, Labor Day weekend. Really good tip is to have a look at the American holidays online. Spring break especially is something I do not recommend traveling during that period. It can get so busy. So that's actually March time, but I do not recommend it. The parks can get so busy. So always check, if you are flexible with when you go away, always check these dates online. The American holidays, and if you don't have children, the UK school holidays as well, so you don't travel within these times, then the parks will be quietest. Now, going back to what I said previously, can you do other things at the weekend? For example, maybe go and visit Kennedy Space Centre, or maybe do a bit of shopping, or have a pool day at the weekend, so you're not going into the Disney parks and Universal parks where they are generally going to be busier. That is one thing that, if you can plan around that, I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for a quieter park as possible. If you're deciding to stay at a Disney hotel, it's also worth checking out what parks have early magic hours on which days. Again, that will help you try and choose and work around a schedule. So hopefully that's helped you with your schedule. Moving on, when should you book? Now, I am part of a sort of a Disney World and Universal group on Facebook, and a question that gets asked all the time is, when are prices for 2023 going to be released? What about the end of 2022? I see so many people booking for this far ahead, and although it's not sort of out of the question, working in travel myself, I really would not recommend it. The reason being is because no airline releases their flights more than 11 months in advance, or their official prices. They might have advisory prices, but these would be advisory. Same with hotels, they're generally around 12 months before departure. Anything further than this time frame is going to be guesstimated prices. What that means is all travel agents, especially travel agents, will be putting a premium on these prices to cover any influx that they may be given by the hotels or airlines. So if you're booking, so at the moment it's April 2021. If you're wanting to book for February 2023 because you just like to get things booked in, it's the only way that you could possibly budget, you are probably going to be paying on average 20% more than you would have paid if you just waited to book this time next year. You could have saved yourself so much money, and yes, you may be saving and that may be the only way you can budget, but think how much more money you would have saved just by waiting. You'll see by looking at the Disney website, for example, at the hotels, how far in advance they're available. The same with any airline website. Booking through a travel agent, a lot of the travel agents as it stands at the moment are going up to the end of 2022. With everything with COVID, they're trying to be as flexible as possible with people that have been pushing back their trips. But again, they may not be able to give confirmed prices. So if you are looking to pay what you feel is a good cost or as a lower cost as possible. Do not book your trip too early. If you're looking to sort of save and you really struggle with saving, then my top tip is to set up a savings pot within your online bank account, or get a multi-currency card which has those saving pots on the app as well. So then you can just transfer over and you can name it sort of your Florida fund. You can set up a direct debit, so every month you are paying that amount into that pot specifically for Florida. So rather than just paying your travel agent monthly, you're paying your savings pot monthly, and you've got that direct debit. That is a far better way to do it if you are wanting to budget. Another thing to look out for when you're thinking of booking is if you are booking things separately, so booking things yourself and not through a travel agency, have a think about when there might be sales on. So for example, Black Friday deals. Now, I've booked a lot of my tickets through, I've booked all of my tickets actually through Attraction Tickets. This is not sponsored. I just find that they are really well costed and offer some really fantastic deals. I booked some of mine through on the Black Friday deals. Not only did I get to save a percentage on my ticket costs, they also offered a sort of a free magic band as a little perk. So keep an eye out for when they might have specific deals throughout the year, and then that could enable you to save some money. Again, no need to panic that, oh, I need to get these tickets booked straight away because I'm going to lose my Disney days. You can look at the Disney calendar for the park entrances online. So it just relieves that little bit of pressure, so you don't sort of quickly book something just so it's booked, and makes you think sensibly and more cost effectively. Now, if you're booking flights directly with the airline, as soon as they are released, they will be at the lowest that they will be. If you say to yourself, oh, I want to wait till they're on sale, bear in mind the sale price could be originally a couple of £100 more than they would have been at the time that they were released, and then the discount only goes down to here. So when they are first released is when they are at the lowest. And bearing that in mind, sometimes you can get such a great deal on premium economy. Now, I've booked premium economy for my trip, and the reason I was able to do that is because it was such a good deal. Now, I booked in November when they were first released for my September trip this year, and I had a look the other day at the prices for economy, and the economy prices had risen higher if I were to book today than the cost that I booked my premium economy flights at when they were released. So it's always worth checking. You can get some really good deals if you're catching these at the perfect time. If you're booking through a travel agent, this is something that they should be telling you, but they should be working with you to get the best cost and dates possible. They should be telling you when the dates are, when you should and shouldn't be booking, if you are flexible and not working around school holidays or children, for example. For one of my trips that I did, literally it was at the end of August, beginning of September, sort of when the UK school holidays finished. By literally booking my trip a day later, because this went further into September, it meant that I saved a couple of £100 per person simply by moving my trip by one day. This is something that your travel agency can be looking for you. They can look at the calendar, saves you so much time and hassle, and they could get you a really good deal. So this is going to help you think, if you are flexible and you're not having to book at a specific time and you're unsure, work with your travel agent or with the airline, or have a look online yourself, simply by looking at the US holidays, the UK school holidays, and working to these deadlines and release dates with the airlines and the hotels. My top tip for doing this is to download some kind of countdown app. They are free, and set yourself some fun reminders with pictures. So for example, a pop-up can come up, book your seats on the plane. A pop-up can come up, reserve your reservations for Disney. Book Savvy's workshop so you can do the lightsaber experience. All of these have different time dates within the calendar year, so rather than sort of racking your brain trying to remember, download a countdown app and you can add your own pictures and make it all colourful so they can pop up, and it just gives you a fun reminder. Also can help having a booking checklist. Now I have this for myself. I have my Disney World notepad, and in here I write down all my budgeting. So I have my first page with my total costing, because I booked this time around everything all separately myself. Sort of that's the way I wanted to do it for my own holiday this year. And then from the time that I booked, sort of I've gone from November 2020, and I've got when all my deadlines are, and then highlighted it when it's paid and how much it should cost, and ticked off if everyone's paid it. So having something written like this can be a really nice way to track all your spending and help you do all your budgeting. If you're not using countdown apps, you can also put deadlines in something like this. You can sort of get a fun Disney one, like a fun Disney pen. So this is something I also recommend doing, just so you can keep track of everything. The worst thing is when you're laying in bed at night, or you're at work, you're out and about, and something drops into your mind like, when have I got to pay that? When's that done? With Florida, there's always so many elements to these trips. So if you have it all written down, dated with the months, it's just so much easier to keep track of, especially if you are traveling as a family or with friends. There's so many people to keep track of. I really recommend writing a booking checklist down. One way to work out budgeting when you're traveling on a trip, I've already mentioned the savings pots with your bank, or a multi-currency card, for example. Another thing that's really fun is getting yourself a travel piggy bank. I have one of these, and I'm one of these people that never has cash on me. Everything I pay is with a card. However, sometimes if I'm going out for dinner or something, and sort of we're sharing, or for birthdays I might get a bit of money or whatever it is, anything like that, any loose change that I may have or may get given, I pop in this piggy bank. And it's really fun, maybe a couple of weeks before you travel, to break open your piggy bank and use that money as your tip money, so you can go and get it exchanged a couple of weeks before you travel, and then this is what you can use for tips for maybe getting the cab or at the restaurants. Now you need to bear in mind, speaking of tips, for America, everything is expected to be 18% gratuities. So anywhere that you eat or drink or anything you do, they do expect gratuities. So when you are budgeting maybe your costs per day for meals, make sure that you always include the gratuities on top of that, because you can get caught out so easily in America. It's so easy for us to forget about it in the UK, because it's not something that's sort of mandatory for us, so it's not something that's always actively in our mind. So please do remember that gratuities are always customary, and you need to make sure you include this in your budgeting. One thing that I find is really helpful is quite often people will write their shopping list or their packing list of the holiday a month before, a couple of weeks before. That is not sensible if you're trying to budget. So I'm going at the end of September, and I already started my list in March. You may think I'm crazy, but it's the best way to budget. That only gives me 6 paydays before I go on holiday, where I'm trying to save, I'm paying off deadlines for my tickets, and obviously other costs here. I don't want everything to get bundled together and I have a load to get right the payday before I go on holiday. So write down some of the more expensive things that you might need, maybe some new trainers, some really comfortable trainers that you're going to be wanting to walk around. Are you going to be filming it? Do you need more camera batteries or more memory cards? Write down some of the more expensive things that you think you will need for your holiday, and then you can budget across the months. So for example, this month, in April, this was my month that I bought my trainers. I found a really good deal online, got them, and then I could start to break them in before I go on holiday. That's one thing I don't need to worry about now. Next month, it might be more camera batteries, for example. They're not cheap. It's one thing I don't need to worry about. So the month before I travel, or the payday before I go away, I haven't got that stress and worry. Am I going to be able to afford everything? Am I going to be able to get everything in time? that is such a good way to budget. It's never too early to plan these things. Write a list, write everything down that you think you will need. When I say write a list, I don't mean things like paracetamol, plasters, things like that. Not sort of your toiletries and your medical and cost-effective things like that. I mean the more expensive things that you don't want to get piled up too close to when you travel. So we've spoken about planning, scheduling and budgeting. Another thing I wanted to tell you is I really highly suggest to get yourself a folder online or Amazon. Now, not sort of like an A4 folder, a folder just like this, so you can open it and you see it has all the pockets at the side. If you're someone like me that doesn't like everything digitally, you like everything in front of you so you know exactly what you've got, getting a folder is such a useful thing to do. You can just get it online. I got this from Amazon, and then you can start to decorate it with your stickers. We just got these on Etsy. We got this from Inspired by Magic, and this came with a little book which I will show you in a moment. And it's really fun to decorate it. Now inside, there's 4 of us travelling, so a folder like this is very important. And you see how big that is? We have got things like flights, the condo car, tickets, insurance, Esther, things like that. So we've got all of these little folders, and everything is printed in here. Now, we can take this on holiday with us if we want. We probably won't because it is quite heavy and chunky, but it means as we go, if we need to check what we've paid off, for example, for our tickets, or have we definitely got our Esther, what's our car insurance, contact details, everything is in here, and it's just your point of reference. You can pick it up. You can put your notepad in there if you're wanting, your planning notepad with all your budgeting. Keep it all together, so whenever you think of anything, you can just pick it up and away you go. Now, I actually have one of these, similar size for my trips. Now, like I said, I do work in travel, so I'm lucky to go away quite a lot pre-COVID. So I have a space for all of my work trips and my personal trips throughout the year. So I'll write the country name. Each little section will be a different country and a different month I'm traveling to, and then each year I'll just peel the sticker off and change them out. Everything, all the details will be in here. If you travel a lot or you're going on a big holiday, this is such a good idea. Another thing I recommend if you are looking to read helpful tips and tricks, there are many brochures that you can order online for free. This one that I got is from the Walt Disney World Florida, but it just comes like this, and there's so many tips and tricks in here. So it goes through all of the different hotels, the Disney hotels, and lists their facilities and everything in there. But one of the main things that I really like about this is it came with this little book of magic. Now in here is more tips and tricks and sort of park maps and things like that. Can you see? That's one of the water parks there. It's pocket size, but not only that, in the back there's stickers. Can you see that? It's just fantastic. So that is what I have decorated on the front of my folder here. We've put some of the stickers on there. This was free, you just ordered it online. So I also know that attraction tickets have their own brochure. I do have that one downstairs as well, and that's who I've booked all my tickets with. It's really nice to look through, great bedtime reading. So definitely make good use of these to give you some ideas of planning your Florida trip. And one last tip I have for you is getting yourself a fun and interactive notepad. Now, one of the notepads that I've been using, I've shown you this one for like my budgeting, but for sort of any planning and like lists and stuff, I've been using this one from Inspired by Magic. My magical trip planner. The thing I like about this one is it is just lined, so I can put whatever I like in there. Really cute. Like I said, you know I love lists and highlighters, so it just makes it really fun to plan these out. And another one I have, which actually just only arrived this weekend actually, is this Plans for an Adventure. But this one I think is really fun to fill out if you love if you were sort of, when you were younger, loved filling out journals or things, or if you've got children, this is something fun to fill out. So it's very, very interactive. So on here it just says this planner belongs to, and then going on, look at these pages. How amazing is that? So you know, you can put your trip overview in here, similar to the one that I have, but obviously once you've written on it here, you can't change it. So what I would say is maybe keep this as like your hard copy, so once you've been away you can come back and write down what you've done. Planning for like park outfits. And one of the things that I love the most is if you're traveling with children, and it's hard for anybody to wait for a Florida trip, to be honest. I wish I was going there tomorrow, but as a child it's so hard to get your head around exactly how much time it is before you travel. In here, can you see this? It's got a beautiful castle there and all of these balloons. Now this says 100 days to go. This is a great interactive activity to do with children. So if they ask you, when are we going to go? Obviously only works 100 days too. Each day they can colour in a different balloon. So you can say to them, once all of the balloons are coloured in, we are going away. And every day it can be something fun that they can colour in a balloon and count down with you. So this planner, I'm so excited to fill it in. It's from Mouse and More, from their Etsy page, so definitely recommend looking out for that. So you can see with my 3 planners here, I have my 3 notepads and my planning sheet. I'm just an absolute crazy planner, but this is what makes a good trip. It means that everything is not completely regimented. It's not going to be like we have to do this day and that day. We're going to go with the flow as much as possible, but we've planned enough not to worry. So we know we've got our park days booked. We know when we're going to Universal because we've booked the hotel with our express tickets. We know that we've got enough time for some shopping and water parks, and we've got Kennedy Space Centre booked and Discovery Cove at the weekend, so we're not going to be in the busy parks. We feel that we've now got a really good schedule because we've sort of planned ahead but not rushed into it. So hopefully the tips that I have given you today will really help you in planning your trip. If you have any questions, just ask. Like I said, this is what I do for a living. I do this day in, day out, which might be why I'm so crazy with my notepads, because it's just the best way to plan and not forget things. Please do ask me some questions and let me know when you're going to Florida. What are you going to be doing? I just literally live and breathe my trip at the moment. It's all I think about every single day. So I would love to hear about your trips as well. And let me know in the comments if any of these helped you. And I'd also love to see your notepads. Thank you so much for sticking with me in this video. And I really hope that helped you. Speak to you soon. Bye.